Hey, Seahawks Nation, I hope that grin hasn't left your face yet, because what we just witnessed at Lumen Field wasn't just a win, it was a straight-up humiliation. Final score, 41-6. Let that sink in for a second. The San Francisco 49ers, one of the most talented rosters in the NFC, came into our house and got absolutely dismantled from the opening drive to the final whistle. This wasn't a playoff game, it was a masterclass in how to dismantle a rival. The 49ers didn't just lose, they got their lunch money taken, their homework ripped up, and sent home without dessert. And honestly, they had no answers. None. Zero. We exposed them at every level, offensively, defensively, and in the trenches where games are really won and lost. Now, before we pop the champagne too hard and get too comfortable, there's a reality check we absolutely need to have. Zach Charbonnet is done for the postseason. Knee injury, confirmed by head coach Mike McDonald himself. And it's not pretty. It's the kind of news that hits you right in the gut when everything else feels so good. One moment you're riding the wave of a blowout playoff victory, and the next you're watching one of your key contributors get carted off and realizing the road just got a little steeper. So today we're talking about 3 running backs Seattle could bring in right now to keep this Super Bowl freight train on the tracks and rolling full speed ahead. But first, if you're riding with this team through the highs and the gut punches, hit that like button, jump on board with Seahawks Nation Update, and let's smash that 1,000 subscriber goal together. We're building a real community here, and every single one of you matters. Let's go. Setting the scene. Why the run game is everything. Let's talk about why this run game matters so much, because some people still don't fully appreciate what Seattle built this season on the ground. The Seahawks didn't beat San Francisco on luck or on a couple of lucky bounces. They bulldozed them with elite trench work, dominant offensive line play, and a ground attack that simply refused to quit no matter what the defense threw at them. 175 rushing yards, 33 carries, 6.1 yards per carry. That's not just good football, that's old-school dominance with a modern edge. That's the kind of rushing performance that wears a defense down physically and mentally, that makes the second half feel like running through wet concrete for the other team. And Kenneth Walker III, the man didn't just show up, he arrived like he owned the place. 19 carries, 116 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's not a performance, that's a statement carved directly into the Lumen Field turf for everyone in the league to read loud and clear. K9 is a different animal in big moments, and he proved it once again when the lights were brightest. Then came the gut punch none of us wanted. Charbonnet goes down just before halftime, and suddenly the depth chart looks a whole lot thinner than it did at kickoff. Jones Jr. stepped in and gave it everything he had, going 6 carries for 10 yards, and look, no disrespect intended, because effort was never the question. But production-wise, that simply won't cut it if we're chasing a Lombardi trophy through the toughest stretch of the NFL calendar. The margin for error shrinks dramatically in the playoffs, and your backup running back getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 1 is a problem you cannot afford to repeat. So the question becomes urgent. Who steps up behind K9 when this team needs it most? Option 1, Jamal Williams, the familiar workhorse. Who knows the playbook? Some of you are already typing, "He hasn't played this year" in the comments, and yeah, that's a totally fair and legitimate point. But pump the brakes for just a second and hear me out, because context matters more than a quick headline. Back in 2022, with the Detroit Lions, Williams posted 166 rushing yards, 17 touchdowns, and 262 carries across the season. That was one of the best goal line seasons we've seen from a running back in recent memory. The kind of performance that reminded everyone exactly what a powerful downhill runner can do when given the right opportunity in the right system. He's a human battering ram who doesn't flinch at the 1-yard line, doesn't dance around looking for the perfect hole, and doesn't go down on first contact. He lowers his pads and moves the pile. Simple, effective, exactly what you want in short yardage situations. But here's the detail that really makes this interesting. He's already worked under offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak back during his time with the Saints. Same terminology, same scheme concepts, same expectations from the coaching staff. In the middle of a high-stakes playoff run, when every single practice rep counts and there's no luxury of a long learning curve, That familiarity isn't just convenient, it's genuinely priceless. Option 3. Trayvon Williams, the grinder who does the dirty work. This one won't get the highlight reels going or set social media on fire, and that's perfectly fine. Williams, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, is the most Charbonnet-like option on this entire list, and that comparison alone should tell you exactly what his value proposition is. 4 games, 7 carries, 7 catches, nothing that's going to make ESPN's top plays segment. But watch the tape carefully and you'll see what the numbers don't fully capture. Low pad level on every single run, absolute refusal to go down without making the defense work for it. Zero hesitation when it comes to taking contact head-on, and genuine reliability in pass protection when the quarterback needs that extra half second to find his target downfield. That last part, pass protection, is something that doesn't show up on the score sheet, but matters enormously in the playoffs when defensive coordinators start scheming specifically to generate pressure and disrupt your quarterback's rhythm. A running back who can pick up a blitzing linebacker or identify a twisting defensive end before the snap is worth his weight in gold in January. Williams can do that, and if Seattle's offensive identity is truly built on pounding the football, controlling the time of possession, and grinding opposing defenses into dust, and it absolutely, undeniably is, then Trayvon Williams slots into that philosophy without disrupting a single element of what's been working. Sometimes the boring, unglamorous option is the most correct one available. The bigger picture, and it's getting wild in a hurry. Now here's where things get really spicy, because the off-season storylines are already beginning to stack up like rush hour traffic on I-5, and we haven't even made it out of the playoffs yet. Our Super Bowl MVP is being linked to the Houston Texans. Let that marinate for a moment. A 25-year-old Kenneth Walker III, coming off arguably the best playoff performance of his entire career, is being projected as a perfect fit for an AFC contender that desperately needs a rushing identity. Houston finished 22nd in rushing last season. They leaned on a rookie and a declining veteran and couldn't consistently protect or support C.J. Stroud when the pressure was highest, and it showed in the most critical moments. Walker checks every single box they're looking for: explosive, proven under pressure, young enough to be a long-term cornerstone. If they open the vault and put a massive offer on the table, Walker would be completely within his rights to listen. That's not disloyalty, that's just the NFL being the NFL. The business side of this league is cold and real, and nobody can fault a player for securing their future. But here's the Seahawks reality that makes this situation genuinely complicated. If Walker walks, Seattle pivots back to Charbonnet, assuming he's fully and completely healthy, which is a very significant assumption given the nature of knee injuries for running backs. Recovery timelines vary, trust takes time to rebuild after major surgery, and you simply don't casually replace a player who just delivered a Super Bowl MVP performance. Walker isn't just production on a stat sheet, he's identity. He's the tone-setting physicality that changes how a defense approaches the entire game plan. He's the momentum-shifting explosiveness that can break a game open in a single carry. Losing that changes this offense dramatically, even if the scheme stays exactly the same. Meanwhile, Jackson Smith-Njigba has politely but very firmly let the entire football world know that he expects to be compensated as the best wide receiver in the NFL. And after what he did this season, 119 catches, 1,793 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns, Offensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl champion. He's not being dramatic or creating unnecessary noise. He's citing his resume with complete confidence, and the resume absolutely backs him up. We're talking potentially $40 to $43 million per year territory here, which is essentially quarterback-level money. But when you've done what JSN did in 2025, when you've carried an offense through a championship run and built instant chemistry with a new quarterback while doing it, you've more than earned that conversation. The market will move for him, and Seattle needs to decide how aggressively they want to move with it. And then, right when you thought the offseason couldn't get any more complicated or any more exciting, the curveball that nobody fully saw coming lands right in the middle of everything. Seattle is being connected to Tyreek Hill. 8 Pro Bowls. Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs. 11,363 career receiving yards. 83 touchdowns. A player who has spent his entire career making defensive coordinators look foolish and making fans forget they had any other concerns for 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon. The decision that defines everything. Here's the honest truth that we all need to sit with for a minute. This front office just built a championship team from scratch, and they deserve enormous credit for that accomplishment. But building a championship team and sustaining one are two completely different challenges. And history is littered with one-year wonders who couldn't figure out the second part. The decisions coming out of Renton over the next several weeks will define whether 2025 was a magical, once-in-a-generation lightning strike or the opening chapter of something much bigger and more meaningful. Do you pay Walker and lock him up long-term, betting that his production continues and the knee stays healthy? Do you extend JSN at whatever the market demands, knowing that elite receivers in their prime are about as close to a sure thing as the NFL offers? Do you take a calculated, structured swing on Tyreek Hill and make this offense so dangerous that the rest of the league genuinely doesn't know how to prepare for you on any given Sunday? You can't do all three at full price. The salary cap doesn't bend for anyone, no matter how many Lombardi trophies are sitting in the trophy case. Priorities have to be set, and they have to be set with cold, unsentimental championship logic. Not emotion, not fan favorites, not nostalgia. My honest take, if you're asking, prioritize JSN without hesitation. Elite wide receivers entering the prime years of their career are long-term gold in the modern NFL. The league is built on passing, and having a generational talent at that position is the closest thing to a guaranteed competitive advantage you can buy. Running backs, even truly special ones like Walker, carry more historical risk on big second contracts, and the position's physical demands make longevity unpredictable. That doesn't mean I want K9 gone. It means this front office has to look at the full picture without letting sentiment cloud the math. If Walker walks to Houston, he leaves with a Lombardi trophy and the gratitude of an entire fan base. And we trust the plan to keep moving forward. Drop your takes in the comments below. Do you resign Walker no matter what the price tag? Do you lock up JSN and build around him for the next decade? Do you roll the dice on Hill and make this offense truly unguardable? I want to hear all of it. Thank you guys, see you next video.